You guys ready?
The number is
Yep.
wrong.
Oh, scratch out. We can sign it.
Thank you so much, Ken. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hollis Select Board meeting for Wednesday, April 15th, 2026. We will begin with a call to order and a roll call.
Dick Moran.
Roger Hicks.
Mary Hoffman.
Mike Hardwall.
Jack Regala.
Danny Rumian.
And we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, so third item on the agenda and first in our hearts is the MSAD 6 budget presentation with Clee Gleason and Don Pooler. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for having us. Yeah, as you said, I'm here with Don Pooler, our business manager. I also want to recognize we have a couple school board members. Our Hollis reps, Don Marian and Kelly Heath, are also here in the audience tonight. I thought I would start with just a quick sort of overview of the process that we take, and this is not that different than what we've done the last couple of years, but I think it's helpful for people to know. This process starts in the fall of the school year, really, with looking at the previous year's budget and what are anticipated needs. And for the second or third year in a row, Don and I met with all of the principals and department leaders and directors and went over their budgets. By December, I think it was, we had their requests in and really analyzed every request at the school and department level. And in pretty much all cases, they all came in with 0% increases on the costs they have control of. The non-labor costs for the schools and for most of the departments were 0%. We recognize that we're trying to control costs as much as we can. Then between December and March, and Mary was part of this process, we have a Citizens Advisory Committee, the BAC, the Budget Advisory Committee, that had 6 meetings between December and March. And the goal of those meetings is to get stakeholder input, people from the community to come talk to us about what do they want to see, what do they have for input, what do they have for thoughts. And it isn't detail level, like spend money on this and not that, but we really hope to come out of there with an idea of what kind of increase do we think the community could support, and then also to see some of the difficult decisions that we're making. So we once again underwent that process. Those meetings are all open and public. Anyone who, even if you're not a member of that committee, could come to any of the meetings. They're recorded. They're on our website. Anyone can watch them. Then we left that process with a budget. I would call it the superintendent's budget at that point, which then goes to the Finance and Facilities Committee. They met on March 12th and considered the budget. Once again, there was a discussion. Those minutes are posted. Those meetings are public. I'll just note that there have been some concerns about transparency, but not one person from the public came to any of these meetings. So all of the minutes are posted for view, and including the budget as it came out of Finance and Facilities was part of the minutes of that meeting. From there, it went to the board. Let's see. So Finance and Facilities made a recommendation to the budget we had brought forward from Budget Advisory to add an additional $1 million from our carry forward, our fund balance, to offset the tax impact. But we're not interested in making further changes or further cuts because we're very clear that any further cuts were going to be staffing. People, programs were the only place to go. So after that March 12th meeting, the budget was at $73,480,287, and at that point it was an increase of 5.82 on the tax base. So then we got better between that meeting and the budget, the full board meeting. We got more information about our healthcare costs because that's a big driver for us. Is our health insurance premiums. They usually don't come out until the end of April when we're already trying to have the budget decided. So that was an evolving picture. But the budget was sent after March 13th to the board. They had it well in advance of that April 6th meeting. And then we even had new information to share with them on April 6th about health insurance. And so that basically left us leaving the April 6th school board meeting with an adopted budget of $73,000,000 022,404. And that ended up bringing that increase down to 4.5 now, 4.59 on the tax base, and that's where we stand today. There was also, again, concerns about confusion about approval of the budget, but we had to schedule multiple meetings in the event that the board didn't approve it the first night. So we had meetings tentatively scheduled for this April 7th and 8th, but we didn't need those because the board completed their work on April 6th. Also, we have a couple of bonds that Dawn will talk more about later. This is a different approach that we're taking. Every year, the conversation in the budget development process is how much more can we put in the facilities part of the budget to fix the schools. But the problem is $1 million here and there doesn't do much. It just allows you to take care of a few critical needs, and then you're still chasing things. So the conversation this year, there was a subcommittee of the board established. We did a lot of work on trying to identify priorities, and the large bond that's being proposed and was approved by the board to push through to voters is something that we feel like gives something to every community if it's approved. All of the schools, well, not every school, but each town gets some benefit from this bond. It's largely heating systems, boilers, roofs. It's big facility stuff. There is also athletics improvements, and people have questions about that. But our track is at the point where we can't host home track meets anymore because it's not safe. It's barely safe enough to practice on. It's expensive to finish a track. It's a process that's been kicked down the road a number of years, and it only gets more expensive. And if you're going to do the track, it's a perfect time to look at your field. There's been a lot of discussion about our fields. Our fields get so much use by our community, probably more than our school uses them. And that stadium field is a crowned field that takes a lot of maintenance. So we did a study, I think it was last year, about what we could do to improve it. And the results were that a recommendation of a turf field would give us far more playability. We could have all of our varsity sports compete on it, not just football, and it would free up our other fields for larger use by the community. So it made sense to do all of this at once, and so that's why people are saying, how come you didn't split it out? Well, it's all in one bond, but separate from the budget, so taxpayers can decide if this is something they want to support or not. And it's also, we feel like, showing a fraction of the need that we have in our facilities. So that's some background. I will go back to the packet now that I think you have in front of you, and we can leave some here. I guess it's on the screen too, but if anybody wants to pick these up and look at them, we can make them available. We started putting a little academic data in. So this is just a snapshot, but in English language arts, this just shows that we sort of are paralleling this course just below the state average in the main through-year assessment. You can see the bar graph there to the right, and the numbers are really small, but 60% is seen as a pretty good mark to get to as a measure of success. And we have 3 grade levels that have hit that mark, but several that haven't. So that's continuing to be a work in progress, trying to look at what we can do to improve the performance there. And I think at our elementary school, we're seeing more gains as we get further and further away from the school shutdowns in 2020. At the bottom of that first page in math, this is where there's a little more progress that's tangible. A couple of years ago, we implemented a Reveal math program, K-5, and we're starting to see the improvements, the growth. This is a benchmark assessment that is from the program, the grid to the right there, and it shows that every grade level is hitting the 70% or higher mark in Reveal math, and it's showing that percentage of students. And you can see the younger students tends to be better progress for the younger students. The older students have still only had it for a couple of years, but they're making steady growth from last year to this year. That second page has a little bit of high school data. It's a lot harder to measure progress in high school in content areas because of the way it's laid out, but we had record numbers of students participating in no-cost early college courses. So I think that's a testament to our students. They can get credit in college for these courses for free, so it saves them money when they do go to college, and we have 53 students taking 105 courses, which is far higher than we've had any other year. Then AP scores, just to show that we have a lot of students that participate in our advanced placement program. I think there's 100 students, and then 68% score 3 or higher on those AP scores. And the thing that I really think is a significant achievement these last couple of years is for 2 years in a row, we've had a graduation rate of 87%, which is higher than the state average. And you can see by that chart, it's been a long time since we've exceeded the state average graduation rate. So now into the meat of things here, the budget. Page 4, it just shows a history of the general fund budget increases. We're at, so you might say, I thought you said 4.59. Well, that's the tax assessment impact. This is the year-to-year general fund budget increase. So we're 5.74 from last year to this year increase. We'll get into some specifics, but generally speaking, that is salary and benefits increases. Health insurance and contracted raises to our bargaining units. Not a whole lot else driving that. Let's see, if you look at the history again, this is school nutrition, which has to be broken out separately. You can see that's a 13.5% increase. And if I gave you one guess about what's driving the school nutrition budget increases, you might guess food costs, and you'd be right. Food costs more. So it's costing more to feed thousands of kids that we feed. Adult education had a minimal increase of 2%. They also have some revenue that they bring in. It's not necessarily paying for itself or anything, but there is some revenue that comes in through some of the courses that they offer in adult ed. And we have a very robust adult ed program. We actually have a new director this year who's brought some new ideas in. It's a great program. We have a number of students who graduate from the adult ed program each year who have returned to school. So it's a great program, and again, not a lot of money if you look at the whole budget. So this next page, page 6, shows the grand total budget, the general fund, adult ed, and school nutrition, and that's where we get a 6.02% year-to-year increase on the total budget. And then if we go to the assessment page on page 7, this is where that 4.59 number comes in. Largely, the difference is because of that $5 million from our fund balance being applied to pay down the tax burden. As you know, we don't get to decide that middle chart where it's broken out by town. You can see Hollis is at a 4.12 increase. This is based on what the state tells us each town's ability to pay is. We don't decide it. They tell us, and this is what we have to charge the towns. So that 4.59 breaks out differently in the different towns based on the 3-year valuation that the state uses. And then that last box on that page talks about the tax impact per $100,000 on the homeowner directly. Let's just do a quick, I guess I could pause for a minute if anyone has a question. The next thing is I would just quickly go through each article and just tell you what the drivers are in each article.
Any questions?
Clay, the only thing I remember from last year, we had some enrollment data.
Yeah.
Is that something that
I didn't include it this year partly because it hasn't changed a lot.
Okay.
I think we'll probably be down a few students, 50 students district-wide. Instead of 3,300, we might open at 3,250. It could be higher, and I'll explain a little bit why. It's hard to measure this year because of our pre-K, some changes we're making in pre-K, but it has not dramatically changed.
So the kindergarten enrollment rate, I remember that being a concern.
Yeah.
Does that change, or
It's pretty much on track, but that's a great point, Mike, is that it's a little lower than we've seen in other years, but from last year to this year, it's fairly consistent. It might be up a little bit. I think I checked it earlier today, and I think last year at this time, we might be 10 students ahead of our registration from the previous year. So it's basically the same, maybe trending a little bit higher.
Okay, I appreciate you going off.
Yep, no, that's good. I debated whether to put it in. I just didn't know how helpful it was. We do provide the board with enrollment updates every month, one of the meetings a month, and it's something that we do keep track of. So Article 1 is regular instruction, and that's pretty much what it sounds like. It's all the stuff in the schools, basically. And you can see that's a 6.1% increase. It is largely salary and benefits. One of the drivers in this area this year, though, is We are doing something we haven't done before. We're trying to expand our pre-K access for folks in the community. Previously, we'd had 96 seats district-wide, and we'd routinely receive far more than that for applications. We'd have to turn families away. So one of the things the state was incentivizing was community partnerships with local providers that qualify. They have to meet the state criteria to be a partner. This is not daycare. This is 4-year-old instruction, right? So 4-year-olds, kids who are going to turn 4 before October 15th are eligible. We're going to screen everybody, and we're going to now work with these community partners to place students not only in our schools, but in a couple of private businesses that have approved 4-year-old programs. So we anticipate 48 seats. Now that had to show as an increase in the budget, but it also means we'll get the revenue from the state for 48 more kids. So it should be neutral, but it drives up the increase in this area because we can't show the revenue yet, right? So if we were to take this out, remove it from the budget, yeah, the budget would go down, but so would our revenue. And the people who would pay for this are the people right now who are paying for their own 4-year-old programming in the community. So people in the community will benefit directly by the school day portion if they go to Care Bears or Little Tykes and their child is in this program. The parents won't have to pay for the school day portion of their 4-year-old's education. They would pay for before-after care. So it will benefit the community directly, and we thought it was a win-win. And it helps our local businesses. One of the providers in Standish said that every year we do pre-K screening, and we would take 16 of her kids that she was planning on having in a classroom, and meanwhile, we turned 16 other kids away. So it's about time we started to coordinate those services so it benefits the kids and the local businesses and the parents. So I think that's a great opportunity, but it is new. Article 2 is special ed. It's really hard to get too detailed into this, but one of the big drivers is we have these things called out-of-district placements when it's decided that a student can't be educated in the district, and sometimes it's not our decision, it's decided for us, and we have to place them in these educational environments that are not our schools. They can be very, very expensive, and like one student can be $300,000 or $400,000. So we have some situations going on right now where we're facing that. So that is part of the increase in special ed, or those out-of-district placements. That's really the most significant driver of that increase.
Clay, is that part of the transportation cost on those outside?
Well, yes, a little bit, but I don't think that's the biggest. I actually think that in some cases, the out-of-district placements, we do have to transport directly, but in some cases, they're residential. The really high-cost ones are residential, so it's not really the transportation, it's the driver, it's the 24-hour sort of care that the students get. Because I think the transportation and the more local programs are far less. They're expensive, but they're far less expensive than the residentials. Article 3 is kind of a placeholder to a time gone by. We continue to put $10,000 in this article, but we typically don't spend it because the money passes through directly to our Voc schools. This used to be the money for the Voc schools, and then we'd have to pay it back out to the Voc schools. It doesn't work that way now, so we just carry that $10,000 in case there's some kind of an emergency or something that comes up. It's a little bit of a contingency. Article 4 is other things, other instruction, so co-curricular activities, summer school, athletics, and I think the biggest driver here is, in addition to making sure we're accurately budgeting for the stipends that we offer, because we do offer our kids a lot of activities, and I'm proud of that. I'm glad we do. I wouldn't recommend we stop doing that, because for some kids, that's the reason they come to school. But officials' fees and mileage rates are not something we can control. We have to kind of pay what the officials groups tell us the rates are, and those rates have gone up substantially in the last few years. So that's a big driver in this. And I also want to add, our booster groups do so much in our community. I'm not sure the school system has paid for uniforms in years, because the booster groups fundraise and do the work and buy things like uniforms and pay costs. They pay some of the coaching costs for our activities. So this number would be so much higher if we didn't have those boosters groups supporting us. Article 5, student and staff support, guidance, social work, health, library, instructional technology. This is not as large of an increase as some areas. It's largely salaries and benefits that are driving that. We did reduce one counselor We currently have 5 counselors at the high school. Our population has dipped below 1,000. We felt like it was a luxury we couldn't maintain, so they were already going to do some restructuring, and we are able to transfer somebody to an opening, so nobody's losing their job, but we are going from 5 to 4 at the high school in counselors.
I had a quick question.
Yep.
It might be jumping back to Article 1, I'm not sure. I've heard some amazing things about the STEM, STEM offerings that is going around the district.
Yep.
Is that part of Article 1?
Yes, and thank you for bringing your attention to that. That was its first year this year that we did that. The principals got very creative and were able to repurpose other positions and shift some things around so there was no additional cost. And it's been very successful. I think every student pre-K to 5 gets some time with the STEM teacher. They do hands-on activities. There's I forget which meeting, but they did a presentation at a school board meeting that you can go back and watch to just get a feel for some of the things that they've done.
Awesome.
I did want to actually go back to Article 1 because I forgot to mention that we did actually reduce 6 positions in this budget also. We're monitoring our enrollments and our staffing, and we're trying to do it through attrition. The board is committed to not just demoralizing our staff by doing major cuts in just gutting our schools, but as somebody retires or there's a position like several of these, last year I asked the principals, before you hire somebody, I want you to think about whether you really need the position. They did a great job doing that, and we had 3 positions that we never filled last year that we could just take out of this budget and continue forward. There were several more that did have a little more of an impact. One is world language at the high school. We just aren't seeing the enrollments, so the high school had to look at their numbers, and if they don't have enough kids signing up for courses, if it doesn't hit a certain threshold, it doesn't make sense to keep offering it. And that's the approach that I've asked them to continue to take to be responsible with staffing. So it ended up being a total of 6 positions through either attrition or a non-renewal, a teacher who was probationary and didn't get offered a 3rd-year contract or a 2nd-year contract. System administration is the superintendent's office, the school board, the business office. A lot of this increase is salaries and benefits and insurances. Nothing really new, no new additions. Article 7, school administration, the principals and their offices. This shows a large increase, but that is because we moved a non-bargaining position, our alternative ed director position used to not be part of the administrative association, and now they are, so that salary got moved in. So that isn't a new position, it isn't an addition, it's just being shifted from somewhere else, and so it hits this and it drives that increase up. We also have a number of people who are in education business, and there's an incentive for them to get advanced degrees, and we have a number of people who are moving up to a certificate of advanced study or a doctoral degree, and so they get a little pay increase for that in their contract. Article 8 is transportation. There's a radio upgrade in here. We heard from our drivers that there were dead spots as they drive around the district, especially out in the, I call it Windish, the Whitesbridge, Standish area. If they get so far away, sometimes they have to relay through other buses. And so Dawn led an effort to really study that problem and see what we could do, and I think we made some improvements, but it did involve some upgrade to equipment. Insurance rates went up, and of course, salary and benefits for that group of employees also. Facilities and maintenance, you'll see a 2.4% increase. A lot of that is insurance and benefits, and that was offset by a reduction in contingency. And I wrote on my sheet here, bond. This is the area that in past years, we might have come to you with $1 million increase trying to pay for something big and build it into the budget. This year, we're taking that approach of putting a lot of those things into a bond separately, so we can see what those items are and their priority level and what they cost, and let people decide separately on them. And then debt service is, I think it's still the Buxton School. I almost said the new Buxton School, the 15-year-old Buxton School, the middle-aged school. That is our newest school. It's getting closer to being paid off. And so that just goes down as you pay your principal down. It goes down. And then Article 11 is all other expenses, and I'm happy to say that's 0. We don't have anything in that article. Then I'll just keep going because we got basically 2 more. Adult ed, talked a little bit about that. We get a lot of bang for our buck from our adult ed program. a lot of creative things that go on there. We reach, I think it was 24 students who graduated from that program and got their high school equivalency last year. And that's pretty much a standard number. And all the enrichment classes they do, again, just a 2%, 2.24% increase. And then nutrition, we feed a lot of kids. And one of the challenges we're having is, it's a good problem in a way, but the state has continued to have free lunch for all, which disincentivizes filling out the forms to see if you qualify for free and reduced lunch. But guess what? That's still the data they use to see if you qualify for other things. And so because people don't need it to qualify for lunch, they don't fill out the form, and then we get, sometimes we risk losing our Title I funding to help with reading support. Or I believe the new formula for school funding is going to have a piece that counts your free and reduced lunch numbers. So this is an early reminder to families, anyone who might see this, fill out the form. Even if you don't think you qualify, please fill it out. You'll have 100 chances before now in the opening of school next year to do it, and we'd appreciate that because it helps with our subsidy and revenues. This is, again, cost of food and then salary and insurance increases in school nutrition. Again, I will pause again, and this time I think I'm going to give up the mic for a minute and let Dawn say a little bit more about the bonds. But if anyone has any other questions about the budget right now, we can definitely take those.
Thank Clay.
Dawn Pooler, business manager, correct?
Correct. So we're going to the public with two bonds. One is an SRRF bond, which is something we applied to through the state. And what happens is the state gets probably hundreds of applications. They go through them all and they decide which ones they will fund. We submitted, I can't remember if it was 9 or 11 applications. We got one accepted. It was for Georgie Jack, and the amount that we requested was a little over $1 million, and they said, no, we will only give you $554,000. The SRRF bond is forgiven by the state because of our EDS, our ED 279 formula. We will be forgiven 50% of that loan. So 554, 575 is what we will be granted, and then we will only have to pay back half of that. And it's a 10-year loan at 0% interest. And that's why we separated that from the other bond. We could have put one bond, we could have incorporated both into one bond question, but we wanted to separate them to show differences in the two of them.
Dawn, can I ask a quick question? So if you applied for $1 million, how are you going to be able to do what you were planning, or are you just doing a part of what you were planning? Or?
The remaining amount that we needed is in the other bond.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. So the other capital project bond includes, as Clay said, something for every town but Fry Island, because Fry Island doesn't have any schools. It is $8,205,023, but it's for critical building repairs for our schools. What we did is we kind of looked at everything that we needed and tried to determine what would help us out for the next 5 years, so that we don't have to worry about, oh, the boiler's gone down, we can't have school. And that's what's keeping my facilities director up at night, is he is truly concerned that the boiler in Hollis is going to go, and we're going to have to shut school for 2 weeks because we need to order parts, or we need to, and then it's, you know, putting a Band-Aid on something that we really need to get a handle on and fix these issues. So those are the things that are happening in all our schools. It is in Buxton, it's the Buxton Center Elementary School. The roof is currently, we have leaks, we have infiltration of the water, we have issues with the insulation, you know, getting soaked. We're going to have mold issues, and it's like Clay said, Buxton Center is not that old, but it wasn't built properly, and we have no recourse at this late a time. So we want to fix it to prevent anything else going wrong in there. We also need some boiler upgrades. It's not as big as any of the other schools. And the controls, all of our controls in all of our schools, they're non-existent. The facilities director really wants to be able to log on his computer from anywhere and be able to see what's happening and, you know, make adjustments as needed. And so this bond takes that into account as well. The Bonnie Eagle Middle School is the controls. We need to fix those there. In Leamington, HB Emery School, we are doing a VRF and a boiler. In Hollis here, we're going to do the boilers, DHW, I can't remember what that stands for, something hot water. The AHU and RHU and the controls. In Standish, again, that's the remainder of that project that we had applied for the SRRF, is the rooftop unit, HVAC. The air quality in that building is it's not good. The levels should be, levels for, the air should be like under 1,000 and ours are 1,600. And so, again, it's affecting learning because it affects the air you breathe, affects all that stuff. So we want to get that fixed. In Steep Falls, it's the VRF. And then for the high school, like Clay said, the track is in complete disrepair. We're going to have some pictures on our website and some videos that show we have big holes in the track. We have the top layers are just coming off. The kids pick it apart and throw pieces like Frisbees. It's a mess. So we need to take care of it. And then part of doing that also was converting that grass field to a turf field. And that was, it just extends the playability on the field. It's going to extend the life of our other fields because we'll be able to put more use on this one. I think that's about it. Are there any questions? Oh, both of these bonds are 10 years. As I said, the first one was 0% interest. The second one is also going to be 10 years. The rate will depend on the market at the time, but they're anticipating between 4 and 5%. So again, we'll have a page going on our website that will show the anticipated payments, and then it'll affect the budgets. Oh, the second thing I wanted to say was the payments. There are no payments in this next year's budget because we do not receive if these bonds are approved, we will not get the funding until next year. And the payments, the first payment is not due until our FY28 fiscal year. So if these are approved, these will affect our FY28 budget.
Left sitting there. So if you'll recall, there was a lot of talk, I don't know, it seems like it was forever ago, about a new school project that Georgie Jack had qualified as the 4th worst conditioned school in the state. And that is still true. And some people might say, why are we putting money into Georgia Jack? Well, we're number 4, and it does still look like things are trending towards being able to get a project considered. If voters approve it, there'll be a lot of work, but it's still 5 to 7 years away. And we need to keep schools open. And that is one of the things, like with the Buxton, the work going into Buxton. Yes, it's a newer school, but what the state is very clear on is schools need to be showing a maintenance of effort. They need to be putting money into their buildings before they're going to be considered for building projects. So this work at Georgia Jack is minimal to keep it open while we're waiting to hear about a new project. And I wanted to say a little bit about Hollis. You know, I spent 10 years in that school, and there are 2 wings, and they have different heating systems that don't really connect. And it's a problem. And there was a lot of problems this winter. And some of you who have kids in school might know your kids were going to school wearing their jackets all day, and they were portable heaters because the boiler in the upper grades, the left side of the horseshoe, wasn't circulating. The systems are so old they can't find parts. And so Don had referenced this, but that, you know, we're getting to the point where at Hollis, at Steep Falls, at HB Emery, if something breaks, We can't fix it easily. It's going to be expensive if it's an emergency fix. And we're going to have to either have kids go to school in like the middle school gym or stay home. And I wouldn't want that for my kids. I wouldn't want that for any kid. And that's why it's just, we can't keep kicking it down the road any longer. So this is the minimum, the VRF systems, variable refrigerant flow or something, right? They're kind of like heat pumps. So one of the advantages is they can be moved. So there is the option, if we close the school or something, to potentially reuse it. And it also will add cooling capabilities to some of these schools. So when we have those hot days, luckily, well, we still have time. I should knock wood. There are years where we have really hot stretches where it's 85 degrees or 90 degrees in some of the schools by the second or third day. These systems will help mitigate that so that we don't have to cancel school too. So like the Steep Falls example, we need to replace the boiler in Steep Falls. But by doing this VRF system, we can prolong, the boiler can kind of be the backup in the coldest parts of the winter, and the other system can kind of take the brunt as long as it can, right? So again, doing the minimum to keep the schools open without overdoing it, especially in Standish, where we know we're hoping that there will be a change in the schools in the next 5 to 7 years. So,
You know, I think a point should be made about kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no way to foresee what is happening this year, you know, in terms of prices and inflation and all the things. But, you know, we are paying more because we kicked the can down the road so long, right?
yep, absolutely.
So it's just something to think about for the future, I think, future budgets, and especially when it's essential things, not frivolous stuff. But thank you.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Clay, out of the call it $8 million bond, how much of it is the track?
I'm going to answer, and then I'll look at Dawn to see how close I am. I think that the track itself is, yeah, it's 3.7 is the turf and the track. I think the track is probably $500,000, maybe a little less. The turf field, I feel like, was just over $3 million for that piece of it, and the track is probably $500,000 because it was going to be $100,000 5 years ago or whatever, and it's just escalated every year. And at this point, I think we're at the point where they can't just resurface it anymore. They're going to have to basically dig it all up and rebuild it, which is far more expensive. But we can get a better number from our facilities director, Dan.
Yeah,
if
I
you,
was just trying to figure out if it's half or if it's.
yeah, it's definitely not half. It's a smaller percentage. I feel pretty sure that the turf field itself is $3 million plus. So the track is probably, again, like I said, $500,000 or a little bit less.
Okay, thank you.
Please.
I was hoping that Dawn or Clay could speak to the debt that we currently have as a district, especially the Buxton Center Elementary School, the debt that we have, and when that will be paid off, because I think that will be helpful before we take on more debt, to know when that debt is going to be paid off.
The last payment on Buxton Center is going to be in the FY '28-29 school year. Is that what you're looking for?
And is that about a consistent, the same amount every year that you
Yes,
pay
it
off?
is.
Okay.
Yep.
With both?
27, 28, and 28, 29. So 2 years.
What's the interest rate on that one?
Oh, I can look it up for you.
A lot
and
lower, I'm assuming.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll send the answers to your manager. And
Thanks.
you're welcome.
So what's driving the bond? The board appointed a special committee to take a look at our issues, of which there are many. I happened to serve on that committee for most of the fall, last summer and fall. The bond's being driven by the fact that we, as a community and a district, have not maintained our buildings over the past several years. We've always cut maintenance every time we came to a tough budget so that we didn't have to increase taxes. We've gotten to the point now where we just can't keep up, and we need to do something about these buildings and these boilers and things. We had a study done a couple of years ago, and it came back in a binder about 2 inches thick, the things that we needed to do to bring our schools up to ADA compliance and to bring our schools up to the modern era. And back then, 2 years ago, it was about a $50 million price tag. So what this committee did, we sat down and we took a look at all of the buildings. And we tried to decide what of all the things that needed to be fixed, which ones would close the schools if they stopped working. And it was the boilers and the HVCs and those things like that. So we worked really, really hard at trying to put together a reasonable amount of repairs, that things that needed to be fixed so we didn't have to close schools. That's how the budget for the bond came about. The turf field is something that the communities have talked about for 5 or 6 years. They've tried on more than one occasion to get the school board, to put out a bond for the turf field. We always shied away from that. So we thought that perhaps if we put the turf field on as a bonus, doing something really good for the kids and for our sports program, and to make our fields better so that we could have schools from away come and actually have their finals at our fields, because we've got a new turf field that all kinds of sports can play on. And we decided that probably the people who support the sporting programs would come to vote for the turf field, would help us to pass the bond so that we could fix up our buildings. Spending money to fixing roofs is something we all don't like to do, but we have to. If you have a leak at your house, you fix it. If your boiler goes down, you fix it. We need to do the same. That's how the bonds came about, so if that's helpful.
Thank you.
And most of this equipment, this is new equipment. We're not talking about fixing things necessarily. We're talking about replacing with new
Modern,
equipment.
easily sourced parts. Yep,
Got it.
all of it.
Got
Yep, bringing the schools into the 21st century.
Appreciate it.
So I'll just say thank you, and as I always say, we're very approachable. John and I will talk to folks all day about this stuff. As you can see, I don't find a shortage for words. We have a section of our website where we have a folder, 26, 27 budget information, and we're putting all of that there. And as questions come up, we're adding to an FAQ section. So anyone in the community who's watching, if they have any questions, feel free to reach out, because we want people to be informed and we want them to know what's going on.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Thank you to
Thanks for having us.
Thank you to
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you to Dawn. Thank you to the board for all the work. Really appreciate it. Any other questions from the board?
No?
Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you've done for our community, Clay. Appreciate it.
Happy retirement.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
He's not retiring, he's going to another adventure. Right?
He will be missed. All right, we have number 4. Item 4 is public comment for items not on the agenda. I'd like to just start with people online. Any comments, public comments for items not on the agenda? I see one person that is actually not here. Okay, anybody in the audience have any comments for items not on the agenda tonight? All right, then we'll move on to item 5, which is a proposal for a voter education and communication committee with Joan Vermette and Phil Finnemore. Please.
Good evening, everybody. Phil Finnemore, and yes, I'm joined by Joan Vermette. So we wanted to bring a proposal. I've talked to a few different people, residents, people here at Town Hall, some members of the Select Board about this idea, and we wanted to actually sit down and frame out what this would be, and then we have kind of an ask for you, and then obviously next steps we would need to move this forward if that's the decision that is made. I just wanted to speak briefly about my view on why there's a need for this. A few things come to mind. I mean, I've been a part of different civic and volunteer-based organizations, and getting the word out about the good work that you're doing and the importance of what you're doing and how you're helping people is incredibly important. I think in a situation like this, transparency is incredibly important. And to me, it's ultimately about lowering the barrier of access to that information. I think that's getting better. I think the website is a lot easier to navigate, to find these things. I mean, yes, people do have these recordings and whatnot, but finding ways to lower the barrier for access to information and getting it out there in mediums that are easier for people to navigate. And when I say people to navigate, I mean people from sort of all walks of life that might be having difficulty navigating the way that we get information out to people about why they should care, why they should be here, why they should get involved, and just information about what's going on in the community and how it impacts them, right? A couple of big things that stuck out for me that caused even more concern, I guess I would say, than those first things I mentioned are more ideas, but some concerns. A few years ago when we voted for this style of government, hiring a town manager, we also were voting on whether to commission a charter or not, which would really help define roles, responsibilities, job descriptions, things like that, a lot of things that we need. We voted pretty overwhelmingly for this form of government, but didn't vote for that. And I think there was just people didn't fully understand what they were voting for. So if we're going to vote for a new form of government and not vote for something that makes it efficient, right? We all want efficiency, effectiveness and efficiency out of this. Something was maybe lost in translation there. So that was one thing that kind of stuck out to me. Another thing I think Joan will talk about a little bit more is what we voted on last year regarding the tax collector's salary. I think a lot of people voted for that not knowing what they were actually voting for. And that was honestly a really big concern for me. That did not sit well with me. So that's where I'm seeing a need, and Joan's going to talk a little bit more about exploring some of those needs and also her experience with things like this, which I think are really, really important in a successful committee that we're proposing. So I'll hand it over to Joan.
Okay, so I'm Joan Vermette. I live in moderation, and I've spent the last 40 years or so of my life making complex information clear to smart but busy people. I've been a consultant in government in Fortune 500 to Fortune 50 companies, explaining topics like civil rights law, financial services, healthcare, and insurance to literally hundreds of millions of people. Organizing information so people can find it. Labeling it so it makes sense. Creating processes and serving up information to make customers and citizens understand and make better choices in critical areas of their lives. But in 10 years of living here, I really don't understand how my little town of 4,800 people or so works. And as Phil said, the catalyzing incident, the reason why I'm standing here tonight, is when it came to my attention that I'd voted for something that I didn't understand and that very much didn't align with my core values. The communications I get from the town, they're definitely getting better. Don't illuminate much for me. In elections, I find myself in a position as sort of a hiring manager. That's the way I think of it for jobs, but I don't fully know the job descriptions. I get invitations to volunteer to serve on committees that I didn't know existed or why they exist or what their scope is. I get town notices about emergency meetings to discuss subjects expressed in statute, article, section, and paragraph numbers without a recognizable topic or any idea of how they might affect me. So it is paradoxically both too little information and way too much. So it's time to make that right-sized. So this is a scope of our proposed Education and Communications Committee. This is where I think that we need better communications. So first of all, voter education. Before I get to the polls, I want to know what's on my ballot and why. So elections, budget items, administrative structure changes, any of these things. I'd like better civic education. How does my town work? How do we pay for what? What are critical town facts? Just hang up on that for me, sorry. No, okay. And then, of course, there's ongoing transparency on current activities. So reportage on committee and select board meetings, outcomes, summary discussions, special events like we're having at the end of this week. We talked and we bounced around some kind of governing principles for what this education might look like. So first of all, our communication principles. Starting every communication with the why should or why might you care? Adding relevant context, history, comparative data, examples of what, for instance, surrounding towns do. Make this information as factual as possible so people can make up their own minds as they will, but specifically with what the kids call receipts, that is references. So the underlying assumptions can be made clear and disputed if necessary. Always write in plain language. So a grade level of 5 to 7 or so. And that's not because people aren't smart. It's because people are busy. So if I get a notice from the town that references, an MRSA article, blah, section blah, paragraph, whatever, and I get this on my phone when I'm in Hannaford, I'm not going to look up the Massachusetts statute right there, Avoiding alphabet soup. So unpacking acronyms if you can't avoid using them. I noticed in the prior speakers, they weren't even sure what some of their own acronyms meant. So that would be good to know. Don't use them if you can avoid it. And then making this accessible to all, not only in terms of, say, ADA, people with disabilities, but people with varying levels of digital savvy, political experience, or political engagement. Administration principles for this program could, include that whatever we decide we want to do in terms of town communications, it has to be sustainable. It has to be as light a touch as possible with as little effort and expense. It needs to be subject to active, including legal review, and by the citizenry. So that means keeping open two-way channels. If people dispute, for instance, a reference we have for facts, then we want to know, we want to correct things. But that's a little bit jumping forward. That's a little bit of solutioning. So let's get back to what we're proposing as a first step here. In my experience, there are two main ways that process or service design efforts fail. The first is not sitting with the problem long enough, jumping to the solution phase too soon without sufficient study or sufficient buy-in, not including a diversity of perspectives, not implementing testing. Here, take this paper we wrote. Can you read it? Do you understand? What do you understand from this? This is a typical thing you do if you're putting out a website. You always test your product. Pilot phases would be an important thing. Then the other way that these efforts fail is kind of a lack of practical scientific method. Not documenting how the solution was arrived at. What was tried? What was the effect? How did you measure that? Not collecting feedback in any systematized way so the town can go back and learn from itself, learn from its efforts. So this is what we're proposing, just to start with. It really is a research project. So we would conduct stakeholder interviews with all of you, with, our town clerk and anyone else in town government that you would propose that we speak with, one-on-one, doing an open survey to the town to figure out what people's needs are around communication. What do they understand? What don't they understand? What would make them feel more engaged? How do we tell the story of your hard work in better ways, in ways that are impactful? So we want to do an open survey. We're going to do stakeholder interviews. After that, we have a better idea. We want to do one-on-one citizen interviews. So 12 to 15 people from a broad range of perspectives, demographics, circumstances. Again, people who are more engaged, people who are less engaged, local business owners, people from different sides of the political spectrum, people with, who are less savvy digitally and more savvy. And then after that, we want to do a comparative review. What are other communities doing to educate, to be transparent, to engage their citizens better? What's worked, what hasn't, how they measured their efforts, and what resources do they require? So people, communication channels, any tools, do they use AI, that sort of thing. So I knew you'd like that, Mike. All right, so Phil is going to talk about what we think the deliverables would be from this effort and what our ask is.
So what we would get out of this kind of initial research project that Joan was talking about, obviously the findings from the surveys, the interviews, the comparative data. From that, we can develop some prototypes, like templates of how we would get different types of information out to people, because the way in which we do it, we want to make that somewhat systematic and repeatable over time, so that the sustainable as well, so that the information is getting out there in the same type of way. Again, with that factual information, all those principles that Joan talked about. Other things that would come out of this would be administrative considerations, like what are those processes like? How do we deliver these all of this information and communicate effectively to the people? And the projection of any resources needed, should there be any. So overall, what we're really asking for is just general approval to get this going. Get this research project going. Some help from you all, just getting some information out there, which I know is kind of why we're here too. So we would certainly help with this. That we've sanctioned this. You're going to be hearing from a survey from this committee, things like that, and that this is legit. We're doing this to explore what type of needs the community has for this type of education and communication. Any oversight there might be, reviews of the communication that are needed, legal review if needed and possible, just progress reporting, troubleshooting over time. And then I guess the other ask, the more direct ask here would be, if this moves and goes forward, does the town currently have any access to survey software, and are there any known limitations of getting that information out to people? Because there are some town resources we will need, I think, to do some of this. So obviously, if we have something in place that we can leverage and utilize for that, we can utilize that, or we can kind of brainstorm and come up with other means of finding out this information if we have to. Overall timeline, like a 12 to 20 weeks. It kind of depends on, we want to get responses back from people. Have time to conduct some of those interviews that Joan was talking about. So I think the big take home here, I know we just threw a lot at you. I hope I wrapped it up well. The big take home here is that all of this stuff is available in some capacity to people. People could come to the meetings, people could read the minutes, people could watch the videos back on YouTube and things like that. We just want to help get the things that people really need to know to help them get involved more, be better educated, digestible, get it to them as effectively as possible. And we just want to help the town do that. Not just the select board, but planning board, all the different committees, maybe helping even all those committees. This is part of what the research will give us, but helping those committees all like talk to each other that much more effectively. And most importantly, get the information, the real crucial information out to the people in an efficient, effective, and transparent way. So that's what we're looking to do.
So I guess my biggest question is why now? Why right now when we're running an election? You know, why would, and is it just a committee of you two, or are you offering, you want a committee to have us ask if there's any other people interested? I mean, that would be my questions is why now? Why today?
I mean, why now, why today is because Joan and I have been talking about this and we came up. Yeah, because we came up, we both talked about our why. And I think some of the.
So is it a committee of two, or is it open to other people? So we'd have we'd have applications and then, you know.
Oh, we're going to need help.
Appoint people, you know.
We're going to absolutely, we're going to need help.
Appoint people in May.
So did you have a number in mind for the committee?
Specific number, I mean, ideally, my thought is, I was counting this up, it would be nice to make it, we want to make the communication and the way we gather that information for the communication, as we said, sustainable and things like that. I mean, ideally, having someone that is sort of covering information from the select board, the planning board, and each of the committees, like a minimum of one person for those things, so that we're not making, 4 people try to cover, what is there, 8 or 10 committees plus the select board and planning board, try to get one person per committee or board, minimum, to make it a little more digestible. So, but I'm not going to turn anyone away either. I think there's a lot more that could go into that.
I think one of the reasons why we want to start with a research project. Quite honestly, I have done research projects like this all on my own. Then there's the question of writing things, the actual work that comes out of this, which would be part of recommendations on workflow and process and things like that.
The online portion worries me because an awful lot of our elderly are not online.
Exactly.
No, and that's exactly why we need to study this.
So if you're going to do research, you're going to miss that whole population if you're doing only online.
I don't think that's
And
what they proposed.
then that's
You
that's
mentioned
creepy.
multiple ways of contacting,
Right.
not
Yeah.
just doing online.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And
If I have to
so-
go to people's houses and read it to them,
So what
Mary,
was
I
your,
will do
what
that.
was your time frame for starting it? I mean, so you want to have a committee, so we'd have to have an announcement that we're going to approve the committee or whatever, and
Okay.
so people would have to apply and be selected at the next meeting, which would be May 6th. I'm not trying to delay it. I just wonder about the timing and the transparency in having someone who's
I support you, what you're saying.
being
Yeah. As a
running
candidate.
for a position.
Okay.
I think that's, I don't know. I
Well,
just think the
seems
timing
strange. That-
is a
that
little
is a
strange to
question
me. So,
As to right now.
yeah.
I can say honestly that whether I was running for a position for select board or not, I would start this committee. This has been a long time coming because we've talked about this many, many times.
But
I've
I
had to,
still have a question about why now? Why before an election?
I guess in my personal opinion, I don't think the why matters. If this is something that we identify as a need and we as citizens want to raise our hand and volunteer, roll up our sleeves and do the work, why would we also wait if we feel that this is a need? And really all we're asking here is the okay to start this project and look into the logistics of it. What we're coming and asking you is like, what does this process look like? I'm not saying we need this tomorrow. I'm not saying we need this immediately. I'm saying what is the process of us getting this going? That's really, we want to give you as much information to make the best decision possible here, because ultimately you all have to approve this. So this is something that the communication aspect is something that I'm passionate about. And if people look negatively on that because I'm running, so be it. I'm not going to shy away from that. And all of these logistics you brought up, Mary, are something that I want to know, need to know, and that's what we're asking for, is like, what are the next steps and how do we go about doing this the right way? Because this whole thing is about doing it the right way.
All right, so you're coming and asking us to do this, but have you got a written proposal on how this is going to transpire or take place? What's your parameters and things like that?
I mean, everything. Yeah, everything we spoke about tonight, we have
I
written
think that
down.
is the logical next step, what you're proposing, is some sort of written thing that we can review, and then we can review and then talk about and discuss during the next meeting. What doesn't even have to be next. There's no rush.
Yeah,
Right.
There's
yeah.
no
I'm
rush.
not looking for an answer now. I'm looking for what are your next steps to move this process along in the
I
decision-making
feel like
process.
it's a written proposal is our next step. It doesn't have to be delivered by the next meeting or anything like that. I mean, candidly, Joan, I think when I was, when I was first elected last year, I think you reached out and said, hey, I have this background. So it's not like the first time. No, and I've spoken. Yeah, and you've spoken with the town manager.
And I mean, to be quite frank, the first time Joan and I spoke was at the special town meeting about the tax collector salary that we voted on. So this is something that's been coming for a long
Okay.
time. This is not a political, sorry.
Well, I would certainly want to have.
This is not a
little
political stunt.
A little more detail, and, I don't know if we have survey software. I don't know.
Well, yeah,
Or
let's,
what,
let's,
and
Let's
what
start
our
with it.
legal, would be.
okay. So if it's okay as a next step, we are going to take a measured approach to this, and we can certainly address, we can rehash this or revisit it after the election. It's perfectly
Yeah.
fine. But yes, a proposal that we can all read through would be wonderful, and I think it'll be helpful. And I know you talked about solutioning. You're not going to have everything solutioned right now, and that's not the point. It's just really about starting and giving us almost like a charter, if you will.
Absolutely.
like a charter.
It's something around those, like, what's the problem statement, right? What are the problem statement? What's in scope? What's out of scope? Not to be all Six Sigma, if you know what I'm doing right now, but it would be helpful to have these types of things so we really can understand what the scope is. And I'm not asking for you to go crazy on this, but I think it would be very helpful.
Well, my only ask for all of you then would be, and you can either do this now or if you want to reach out to us, individually, is there more information that you need than what we've already laid out in that written statement?
No, but it would be helpful. You've both said a lot of different things tonight. It's hard to take everything in. It'd be great to have it kind of like something for us to review.
Because I'm a visual person. I
Sure.
have to see it in
Yeah.
writing.
No, that's no problem.
Sound good?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's fantastic.
Okay.
Probably
We'll
write a
definitely
statement of work,
continue
yeah.
this discussion. I think in theory, it's a wonderful
Oh,
idea.
I think it's a wonderful idea. I certainly would like to improve communication with the residents in the community and educate the individuals that want to be educated about voting, because I think some people just really don't care.
Well, and what we're trying to investigate here and what we're trying to improve, Mary, is I think a lot more people care, but that barrier of entry is higher than what they're willing or able to climb. So
Yeah.
we're trying to accomplish exactly what you're saying. We see this very similarly. So we will get you that written proposal.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate the time and effort. Really do. All right. So, Mary, do you want to talk about the open house on the 18th? It's like,
Oh,
3
it's
days away?
3 days away. We're going to have an open house and a ribbon cutting ceremony. It's going to hopefully be outdoors if the weather is good. It's going to start promptly at 10 a.m. I think there's like 4 or 5 speakers from like Justin Chinette, Nathan Carlo, some of the representatives, a person speaking for Senator Collins, who was a big supporter of getting the federal grant. And then we're gonna, I think, if I remember the agenda right, we're gonna move in and we're gonna celebrate Rita B. Anderson. It's actually Rita's is gonna get the Boston Cane. It's her 97. I knew I'd reverse them. 97th birthday. She's going to get the Boston Cane because she's now the eldest citizen of Hollis. There's a lot of competition in Hollis for that. And we're going to dedicate this room to Rita B. Anderson. She's been a town resident since she was born and lived here all her years, so she's very excited about coming. So please come out and greet Rita and give her congratulations. And it's going to run from 10 to 1. We figured that was plenty of time to have a celebration and sort of let people get on with their Saturdays. There's supposed to be some rain. I don't remember if it's in the morning or later in the afternoon. Seems like every day we get some rain.
Worst case scenario, we have this massive hall to move into, right?
Yeah.
So it'll work out either
They're
way.
going to set up both areas, so they're going to set up in here so we can move in here if it is raining, so.
Great. Anything else from,
And we're going to have food.
oh yeah, there's
We're
food.
going to have cakes, and we're going to have hors d'oeuvres, and we're going to
you
have
go.
drinks and everything. Non-alcoholic drinks, sorry.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
All right, well, wonderful. Thank you so much for that. We are now going to approve some minutes from March 4th and April 1st. And just to make sure we understand, the March 4th is what we were trying to approve before, and we needed to amend one piece of it, which is when Mary was talking about the reports that the town received a contract for the installation of a new water system for $10,000, and we needed to conduct additional PFAS testing. So that's the amendments on this.
It was a little more than 10,000.
Yeah.
So
Just-
I just didn't want people to think, gee, what was she thinking? I don't know. So,
So can I get a motion to approve the
was
minutes?
everybody there?
Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I wasn't there.
Oh, yes.
So I make a motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, except for Roger.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
I'll
you.
abstain.
But thanks for letting me update that. I just didn't want to give the wrong impression.
Awesome. And we also have some minutes from April 1st. Those meeting minutes were provided in the email. I read through them. They looked really accurate and great, as always. And then we had, I think, everybody in this one.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody's here. So could I get a motion to approve the minutes from April 1st?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved. Wonderful. So carry forwards. I think someone has the sheet over there.
I stole the sheet.
Then go
I
for it.
did, because we're not going to sign it tonight. Roger's going to explain some things to us, so. But the problem with, well, the reason I wanted to talk a little bit was we wanted to get some money out of our, $200,000 that we're authorized to use. And we wanted to authorize $20,000 to pay for the payroll costs because we couldn't take that from the carry forward. And then this is a Roger question, how do we pay for the deficits from the treasury and the insurance?
Yeah, that was one thing
So I didn't
I
know
have
if
to
we
talk
could,
to Ron if
I didn't
it
know if
is-
we could do that from the 200,000 and then talk to Ron, or how you want to do that.
I'd probably give a call to Ron, excuse me, Ron Smith, he's our auditor, and make sure how that transpires from there.
Okay.
I can,
Can we go ahead and do the $20,000 though for payroll? We don't have that.
well, yeah, you've already been authorized by the Finance Committee, correct?
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
so
gotta approve
I
So you
just
can
need
do
a,
that.
so I need a motion.
Oh. Oh, go.
I make a motion that we take $20,000 to be used for payroll costs from the 200,000 undesignated account, which the Finance Committee approved for us to use up to $60,000.
There you go.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
Because I was mistaken about paving, something about the,
Yeah, see,
he'll explain the paving.
when I wrote that out and I gave you the list of the carry forwards, I wrote fix on the paving.
And I didn't know what that meant, so I
Well, it
just,
means the amount was wrong because we paved White House, Mansion Road, and Haley.
see, I don't know nothing about this paving bit.
Oh, I got all the numbers
I know
rattling
that they
around in
paved my road,
small
so it
brain
must
up
have
here.
been,
But anyway, that was one of the ones that needed to be fixed.
And so my other
I'll
question
do that on
is,
Tuesday
okay,
with Diane.
and when are we going to get the carry forwards done? Or are we still waiting for the audit?
No, you had them.
No, the rest of the carry forwards, like these? So people are asking me that have protected accounts when they're going to get their carry forward.
The protected accounts are protected. They always carry forward.
Okay, so do we need a motion to approve those?
Those are protected, which they go forward every year.
So how do we get them moved? Because they haven't been moved, and people are concerned because, like, Community Day is really concerned because now they're in such a negative.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do
Yeah,
we need a
because
motion?
when we did the carry forwards before, the protected accounts were all listed on it.
okay, all right.
So do we need a motion for this? Or is it just the protected accounts just move
Well,
forward?
we're authorized to carry forward the money by the warrant article.
Okay.
Okay,
So if that's what you want to do, we just carry forward the money for the protected accounts.
yeah, let's make a motion so it's clear for Diane.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we carry forward all the protected accounts, which total $292,455.
I think that's part of that.
You good with that motion?
Second that.
Okay, get a second? All in favor for that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, thanks. And so it's unanimous aye there, Bennett?
All set?
Yep,
I think we're good.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
We had item C is a June warrant. It was kind of just like a placeholder if there was anything else that anyone wanted to talk about for the June warrant. I think we pretty much got it done last
I do
meeting.
want to talk about one of the articles.
Okay.
Because this is an article dear to my heart, and I want to make sure that people in Hollis know. And it's Article 50. Well, first off, I want to say, if anybody, when you're reviewing the totals, like I know some of the totals went up significantly, like 0100 administration, 0150 legal fees, 0400 operations and maintenance, and 1300 insurance. And, you know, if you have any questions, please call and talk to one of us about why the increases were needed. But, you know, we'll be, I think, reviewing the warrant in May sometime in total. But if you do have a question about a specific number and the increase and why we're increasing, we'll be happy to go over it with you, okay? But I did want to mention Article 15. Article 15 is, shall the town vote to appropriate up to $265,000 from, I'm going to get in trouble with Roger, the operation fund balance for the reevaluation of real property in the town.
Right.
So, I just want to tell you a little bit about why getting property reevaluated is so important. We haven't had a reval since 2009. So every year we have to do what's called a certified ratio for the town. Last year it was 62%, and this year it's going to be anywhere between 47% and 57%. So what that means is if you apply for the homestead grant, which can take $25,000 off your taxes, if we're at 52%, you divide that 25,000 by 100, so you're at 250, multiply it by 52, and the amount that you'll get taken off your taxes is $13,000. You're a veteran, you're eligible for $6,000 if we were at a ratio of 100%, but you will now get $3,120 taken off your taxes. And the reason is because our evaluation of the prices that are listed on our tax records for our homes is not equivalent to all our neighboring communities. So we need to bring that up so we're closer to 100%. And the other problem that there is last year we were at 62%. And if you generally go under 60%, sometimes the state feels a need to come in and do the reval themselves. And it's not to the advantage of the town to have them do that. So we really need the money for our assessing agents, the $265,000 for them to start the reval this summer, and it would affect the taxes in 2027. So I just want people to understand that it really does impact all of you, especially if you have homestead or veteran or any of the other.
So it's almost like an audit defense in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Right. We did start one in 2017. It was supposed to be done in 2018, but it never got done. It never got finished.
Martha?
I'd just like to interject. So Mary, I may have misunderstood. So the three, like for the veterans, the 3,320 comes off their valuation,
Right.
not off their tax bill.
Yeah, the valuation.
Because the way
Sorry.
you said it, it sounds
I'm
like, oh, we're
sorry.
going to get all this money off
No,
our tax
no,
bill.
no. So
It's
if
off
you're-
your valuation.
No, if your
So-
valuation is like $200,000, then $3,120, I know.
would come off if you're a
Yeah,
veteran.
thanks.
So the way you said that, that's why I ran down
the
here, because I'm like,
homestead-
wait a minute,
And the
everybody's,
homestead would be 13,000 off your valuation.
thank you.
But,
Very-
you know, 13,000, 25,000, that makes a big difference for some people.
Oh, sure, when
Yeah.
you multiply it by the tax rate, sure.
Yeah,
What's the
yeah.
tax rate right now? 14?
15,
15. So you'd take that
yeah.
and
So-
multiply it times $15, that's how much you'd save on your taxes. So
Yeah.
I just
So,
want to make
thanks.
sure people are understanding it, so I gotta
But
get
I
back.
I really do encourage people to say yes on that because it would be to our advantage.
Tom Wachowski, Cape Road. I don't like spending money. I don't like when towns frivolously spend money, but I cannot stress enough. If this gets voted down, the state will step in. I have zero doubt. The fact that we're at 62, Leamington was at, I think, just below 70. If anybody owns any property in Leamington or has friends that own property in Leamington, about 3 years ago, this exact scenario played out in Leamington. Their select board was, in the kindest way, inept. Couldn't run a town. The state stepped in and said, hey, you guys are not protecting the state's interest. You're not paying your fair share. Leamington residents saw almost a doubling of their property taxes. My property taxes on the property I own in Leamington were $1,700. It went to $3,200. I cannot stress it enough. I've seen you guys spend frivolous money on stupid things, but
But
again,
this is important. And the other thing is, and I'll let Roger speak to this, it's not going to be taxed to you. It's going to be taken out of the go ahead.
say it correctly.
It's basically the money left over in the operations account.
Exactly. So it's not going to be an increase that we're going to see. It's money
No.
that's already left over.
No.
And again, it's nobody likes spending money on things, especially now.
And a lot of it's from years with the assessing where maybe we had a carry forward of 35,000 for that year, for like 2023. And we had another carry forward of about the same amount. So a lot of it came out of the assessing fees already,
Right.
or, you know, from that account.
So it's horrifyingly important. It's not something to balk at or just
Yeah.
wish away. It seems like a lot of money, but if not, I'm strong feeling your taxes will double if the state steps in because they do it they clear you for 10 years, basically. If they come in, they go, oh, you're good for 10 years now. And they're not easy on numbers. They're very,
And the nice thing about this is that the people that are going to be doing it are John O'Donnell and Associates, and we've had them for what, 3 years?
and what other towns do they do?
Couple of years now. I'm sorry.
What other towns does O'Donnell do assessing
I'll have to
for?
get you a list. I
They
don't
do
remember. But
quite
they
a
do
number.
like,
But it's towns out here,
right.
not just, because the
No,
other
they
assessing
do
company,
like Alfred and other
Exactly.
towns like that.
towns
So-
similar to us, not the other company
Yeah.
that was doing Cape Elizabeth and Falmouth
Right,
and
so
stuff like
it's-
that.
No,
So-
because I looked into them
That's
very
nice.
much.
But we'll give you a
before.
list of towns next time. I
like I
just
said,
don't remember off the top of
It
my
was
head.
more of a rhetorical question. I know
Right,
that the
right.
last company did Cape Elizabeth, Scarborough, Falmouth, fancy towns, and this company does towns like us.
And they've
which
also
is
done a lot
great.
of work with, whatever you want to call them, Primo, Blue Triton, Poland Spring also, so we're very confident in their work with those industries. So that's all I have to say, sorry.
No,
Tom, I got that list. It's at jeodonnell.com. Acton, Alfred, Carthage, Dixfield.
So they're all little
Limerick,
towns.
Livermore, Naples, New Gloucester, Sebago, Shapley. Sumner, Sweden, Temple, Turner, Wales, Weld, Wilton, Woodstock.
Good.
Thank you.
No fancy towns.
No fancy towns.
And some of those towns I actually called and.
Just like
and looked.
our regular all-American, rural American towns.
I don't know, Limerick's kind of fancy. You see they're downtown, it's getting fancier. But no, but thank you. I think
But thanks.
I think it was important for you to say that. Thank you so much. All right, so just real quick, we'll speed through some of this stuff here. Candidate night will be, it's also on the website, so you can read through this. Will be held on Thursday, May 7th. We're doing it, like I mentioned last time, about a month before the actual election itself, and a little bit more time to kind of think about the things that the candidates say. We are starting at 6 p.m. It will be recorded and it will be broadcasted, of course. The tentative agenda, and I just threw this kind of together, we have confirmed that candidates from the main House 138 and 137 will be attending, all candidates from that side. And then Senate 32 is most likely to, we're most likely going to have the candidate or candidates from that race as well. What we're just doing here is we're going to give them 5 minutes to, to present their vision. It's not going to be any kind of debating or anything like that, but we want our voters to see what choices they have. All right, so then we have the road commissioner candidates. We have 2 this year. They can come up and speak for 5 minutes if they'd like to, talk about their vision for, well, the roads, and then everything else. And then we also have a kind of a 6:45 to 7 o'clock overage, just in case some politicians are long-winded. Just wanted to make sure we had a little buffer there. And then the select board candidates, the main event, the select board Q&A will be at 7 o'clock or around about there. And we're going to have Don Marine moderating again, like he did last year. Did a great job. It's going to be an awesome event. It was really fun last year, and I think it's going to be even better this year. Anything to add?
No.
Okay. Moving on to new business, we have an Indian Cellar Preserve. As we all know, the tea house was removed from the Indian Cellar Preserve, and now we're looking, the Conservation Committee is looking to, of course, restore it back to its natural self. So they've been going through the restoration project. They've been going through getting bids. We've gotten three bids to basically restore it back. To give you just a feeling on what the job is, it's to haul in and level 2 loads of fill, cover with loam, and it also includes pumping and filling the existing septic tank, and that's kind of the scope of the work. So we're not, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Conservation Committee is not planning on putting anything on this, but really just getting it back to its natural state so nature can take its course.
They're going to eventually plant some trees and native Maine species in the area and sort of fix it up a little bit, maybe have a bench or 2. But
Wildflowers or something. But so again, they got 3 bids. The lowest bid was from RMDL Incorporated DBA, Pleasant Hill Excavators, and it was substantially lower at $1,100 compared to $4,000 and I believe also $3,500. So substantially lower, same scope of work. Does anyone want to take a look at this, or do we just want to make a motion to?
make a motion to recommend to award the bid to RMDL.
Second.
Any discussion on this?
Yeah, so
Come to the mic, please.
do they have the money in the account to do this? I have-
Yes, they do.
Okay,
They're good.
I think you summarized it.
Okay,
So-
great. So we have a second, no discussion, no more discussion. Okay, yeah. How do you vote?
Yep.
Yes? Aye. Yes, okay. Unanimously, we will vote. All right. Next, we have town manager updates from Dick Moran.
I'm a broken record, and I apologize for those who are sick of hearing from me, but speed is still an issue on 35 and other roads, and I beg people to please slow down, especially when these kids are coming back and forth across the road, even though they're chaperoned. When I drove in here today, they were bouncing around like ping pong balls, and you never know where they're going to end up. So please pay attention to at least the school area, but I'd appreciate the whole town to slow down a little bit and use some caution. Yesterday, there was a diesel leak on Cape Road, and DEP checked for the areas that were not on blacktop and found no contamination that traveled beyond the drop area. They've said that it looks clean and should not pose a problem. I did receive a phone call today or yesterday, I can't remember, and did respond exactly the same way on the telephone call. If anybody does suspect you have a problem, give us a call. We'll connect you to the right authorities. We have, back to my speed topic, we seem to have some tricky drivers around here, both with automobiles and ATVs. I know the Warden Service did catch some ATV drivers, and they have been duly dealt with. We have cameras. We're seeing what's going on. It won't take long before we identify who these folks are. There will be some charges for damage done to town property, and let's just knock it off. We don't need this going on around the town. And finally, Jack, thank you for pushing that flag and getting it done.
He was on
It
top
looks
of the
great.
flagpole.
I'm waiting to get out there to see how well it's lit with the lighting from on top. But
We do wanna
seeing
do
how
s-
you mention it, I just want to say thank you to Jake Smith from Great Falls Construction to pulling this off, taking time from a big major project he is in Cumberland right now to get this done for Saturday. So I thank them again. They did a great job. They ran into some glitches up there. They had to do it a few times, but once it got figured out, it's working good.
They were here for hours.
I know.
Awesome. Moving on, appointments. We have no appointments that I know of, and we are moving to payroll and warrants. Roger, would you mind doing that?
All right, payroll last week, 34,762. Payroll this week, 35,982. Warrant last week was 72,731. And warrant this week is 559,968. Must be the school payment
School
on that one.
payment.
Okay, purchase orders, 4596. It's for Goodyear Tire from the fire department, 4 new drive tires for the tank truck, $2,600. 4597, Southern Maine Communications. It's for the fire department, mobile radio command upgrade parts and labor, 5,300. 4598, fire tech and safety. It's for the fire department, ventilation saw, carbine tip with chain and guard depth, $2,472. That's not your normal chainsaw. That's the one that you cut through the roof and it needs special blades and
Would
everything.
really bring a tree down.
Fast track.
4577, heavy-duty services and bus repairs. This is for the rec department for our school bus, $2,308.24. And that's your payroll and warrants.
Purchase orders too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Good. Dan, would you mind doing correspondence and announcements?
All right, absentee ballot applications are available by calling 929-8552, extension 27, or come to the town clerk's office at Hollis Town Hall. Absentee ballots are available 30 days before the election. MS 86 will hold a free turkey dinner for the senior citizens of the community on Thursday, May 21st at 4:30 at the Bonnie Eagle High School cafeteria. To RSVP, call Sarah at 929-2312. MS 86 pre-K registration has been extended until May 8th. And as Clay said, they're accepting any kid, and if they don't have room for you, they'll put you in a private school. To register, visit bonnieeagle.org and click on the link on their homepage. Eligible children must turn 4 years old by October 15th.
Thank you, Dan. Any other business from the board?
Yeah, I just got one thing. I talked to Dick about it, and that was Bobby Taylor called about doing the spring cleanup Friday here at this at this complex, so it'd be cleaned up for the open house.
Nice.
If we're all set with that, I'll call him back and schedule that with him.
I noticed he was over at the sports complex today doing the aerating and
Yep.
cleaning it
Sports
up.
complex is done, Clark's Mills is done. He's been working on the library doing spring cleanup, and he wants to get over here, so.
And at Clark's Mills, they put new doors on this week. And so they're fixing up the concession stand because they're going to be using it this summer.
Good.
Cool. Any other business? Okay, hearing none, we have no executive session tonight. Upcoming committee and board meetings, I'll just go through these really quick. The planning board meets next Wednesday, April 22nd at 7 p.m. The select board, our next meeting is on May 6th at 6 p.m. The evaluation of TIF committee meeting, the evaluation of TIF funds, how to use them committee meeting meets on Wednesday, May 13th at 5 p.m. That the committee is full, but the board, of course, it's a welcome, open to the public for you to attend and listen to the proceedings. Planning board meeting on Wednesday, May 13th at 7 p.m. The select board meeting second is May 20th on 6 p.m. And I think, Conservation Committee meeting is Thursday, May 21st at 5:30. And I'll just throw in May 7th again is candidates night. That starts at 6 p.m. Be there. Please be in. Come. It'll be so great to have a big full meeting
Questioning.
room. It'll be great. It's going to be really fun.
And I just have one meeting to add. April 29th at 9 a.m., the Comprehensive Committee is going to be meeting, and anyone's always welcome to join. We're trying to get, the plan is almost ready to have a final review, and then we'll be putting it on the website and having public hearings. So we're really excited that we're almost got it done. So.
Wonderful. All right, and second to last, we have public comment.
Any public?
Here I go.
I don't think dog licenses are due now.
No, they're not. Martha Huff. Well, today I'm deputy town clerk, so I guess I'll address a couple of things this way. On that, what did you say was the total on your carry forwards for the non-lapsing reserve account?
That was the total of all of them that she gave. I'd have to, I left my
Okay,
book at
well,
home,
because
Martha.
I'm just going to read the list that I have, and this is from 2022, so maybe it's been amended since then, and I didn't look far enough, but it didn't seem like much money for the list.
It's not 292, that's a total of everything together.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got quite a list here, so I just wanted to make sure they were all on it. I mean, Indian Seller must have
I
quite a
left
bit.
my book at home.
Indian
Okay.
Seller has
That's it?
$39,787.
Oh, okay. I thought they had lots more money.
They
Okay.
spent a lot of money on the tea house property.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Because they had to
Because
pay
there's,
top
in
dollar.
this ordinance, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now you all know I can count. 18 accounts listed in this thing, if I have a paper in front of me.
I have 23 on my list.
Okay, so some have been added to it since this, so there may be an update that I need to look for. Question on the payroll, so that it was $20,000, and that's because we're having payroll done out of house?
Yes,
Okay, and I don't know if you can answer this question or not. Has that increased or decreased the work in the treasurer's office?
I would say it's decreased, but I'll let Dick
Now,
address
I
that.
think at this point, we're even. I know she's still, Diane still works, reviews the numbers. I talked to the payroll company 2 or 3 times this week already, encouraging them to pick a few days that they're available to roll training through. It'll be video connection, or what do we call that, Zoom? Pardon me. And once that's underway, obviously we're going to have a little bumpy road when people are trying to use their phones or their computer to log in and log out. And there are a couple of, the fire department is currently using a spreadsheet. Rec department uses a spreadsheet, and they told me there's a couple of missing pieces, and I don't know where they became missing from. It doesn't really matter, but we're fixing that. So that'll facilitate those 2 departments having smooth access, and then The rest will be by, like I said, phone and computer. So we should be fully engaged, I'm saying, by the first couple weeks in May.
Okay. Because I haven't been here for a couple months. So does that mean employees are going to go on and report their own hours? Is that what
Yeah.
happens? Ah, see, I missed that.
And
I
then my
missed that
under-
whole thing.
And my understanding is that if you log in from home, they catch you.
Yes, it's got.
Because they can tell where you're logging in for.
And
So-
who's gonna double check? I mean, there's no checks and balances for this?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
I see the payroll every week.
Okay.
And I don't review very candidly all 50 or 70 people, but I try to pick other people each week and look around and see what the hours look like. And I've asked each of the departments to provide me with the employee list and what their typical hours are and their rate of pay so that I can verify that we're accurate. And I know that Diane has also looked at the final listing. It's fairly comprehensive when we get it. It shows, again, hours, the name, the individual, and the number of hours.
So if you had a big spike, like $20,000 one week, you go, oh, wait a minute, something must
We'll
not
catch
be
it.
right.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's what I was curious about.
And I think when it's going to make a big difference is in January, when W-2s are due, 1099s and all that
Right.
stuff.
It'll be done by the payroll company.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
cool.
I mean, W-2s and that.
So my next issue is kind of like the elephant in the room, but I've been gone for 2 months and I've been back a couple days. And I know I brought this to the select board before, and it doesn't seem to be any improvement at all. When you have an employee that cannot go to the bathroom or take a break, that is ridiculous. And to me, it's on the select board. You need to make some allowances for that. That's not fair. She was here before 10 this morning, I believe, and just left now. And to my knowledge, I don't think she got to go to the restroom all day, and she certainly didn't get a break to eat, and that's 2 days in a row.
I
Tax
think
bills
that
don't-
needs to be addressed by the town manager. Thank you.
I think he's tried, and I think when
That's
you
the
have
town-
employees that don't report to anyone, it's absolutely fruitless. Is that not correct, Dick? When they do whatever they want, that's what happens. And it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed now. Tax bills just went out. I mean, there are ebbs and flows. You've still got all your vehicle registrations. People are in for their tax bills. I know for me, just filling in the last couple of days, I was busier the last 2 days than probably the last 2 months I worked. It's, just everybody saves it. Like, I'm coming in to pay my taxes, so I'm going to do my dog, and I'm going to get my birth certificate, and I'm going to do this. And I really had to look for some things because I'm like, oh, I don't even know if I know how to remember how to do that. But I'm just saying that's not right. That's not right to treat any employee like that.
And I think it
as
also-
a taxpayer, I'm sick of it.
I think it's also the employee's responsibility, if there's no one there, to put a little note on her desk that she's going to be gone for 5 to 10 minutes.
And I think today, maybe for 5 minutes, was the first time in 2 days she hasn't not had anybody there. But she still has an administrative piece to do, which is what I always harped about when I was clerk. Because if you're always at the window, you never get to do your administrative piece. And I believe they have reports due. There's license plates and all that stuff that needs to be ordered, let alone whatever else you might need. It's just not fair, and I'm going to throw it out there, and I really don't believe it's on Dick's hands. I think the time has come to do something. It's not right, so thank you.
Well, unfortunately, it is because he does day-to-day operations. Everything goes through the town manager. But
Yep.
thank you for letting us know.
We're not passing the buck.
No.
We're supporting the town, what the town voted for was a town manager to be here day to day when we're not around.
So what can we do in the short term to fix this? First of all, this employee can advocate for herself and put a thing, do not take a break, take a lunch, and if the residents have to wait, then they have to wait, and I'm sorry, but that's what's going to happen if we can't manage the staff to do what they're, basically be her backup.
Basically, it's going to be putting a sign up saying
Yes.
they'll be back in 15, 30 minutes whenever they go to lunch or if they need a rest break.
Correct.
Because.
And we can do this on the website. We can put, if this has to happen, and we say, you know, we have bankers hour, we could have bankers hours, you know how they say, was it the pharmacy in Hannaford, right? They
say
take
they're
break
closed.
at 1, from 1 to 1:30, right? They say they're closed. And, you know, if we put that on the website long enough, maybe that's what we need to do. I mean, this week is certainly different where we have someone actually out and someone's backfilling right now, but. Sure.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's what we were proposing. Yeah. Yeah, and they start a little later in the day, so I think like a 1 o'clock lunch or 1 o'clock lunch is be appropriate. So, but it is on the town manager to make that happen and instruct the employee in question to advocate and take the breaks that she needs to take by law.
Do they take their lunch all at the same time? Or
No.
You, okay, because then you can rotate or, yeah.
Cool?
Well, it's like we talked about whether we have to do the warrant, the disbursement warrant, whether it has to be done in one day or can it be done in a couple days so then the person could be relieved by the deputy.
Yeah, there's no fire there. There's no,
I mean,
the
you
sense
know.
of urgency should be to the public, right? Try to make sure that they're taken care of. That's the sense of urgency. The background administrative stuff, when you're talking about the warrant, that can be pushed off for however long, you know, a week, not a week, but a couple days or something like that in this situation. So there's solutions. We just said, it just has to happen.
Can be done.
But again, we come back to the elected versus appointed versus what power we really have over elected, so.
We have no power, and neither
you
does
know?
the town manager.
So somebody's making us responsible when we really don't have any power.
This is the whole point of the committee, to change from appointed to elected to appointed, to allow the town manager to do his job the way he needs to do it, and allow the select board to support him and advise and consent. That's what has to happen. That's why this committee has been formed, and hopefully we can do this really soon, because it's very hard for anybody to manage when you don't have something, people that literally just don't need to report to you or don't need to answer to you at all. They can do whatever they want. Not helpful.
So if I may.
Please.
I'm not disagreeing with anything you said, but I guess I want to go, you've actually put it on record now so that when you do get a phone call that the front desk is shut down for half an hour for lunch or 15 minutes for a break to be able to walk away, you know why and what's going on. Fair
Yes.
enough?
Yep.
I'm happy to have that, to do that, and I can deal with that. You've summarized the rest of the problems more than I probably could, and I'll leave it at that.
It's completely fair. We'll have your back on the reason why we did that. It shouldn't happen very often, right? This is an extenuating circumstance this week. We have a
Right.
vacation happening, right? So it shouldn't happen very often, but
No, but
we have your back on this.
people have
Okay.
problems. That's why we have that section for people to talk about stuff not on the agenda, too.
That's true.
And Martha, if you're still listening, thank you for bringing this up. I think it was completely appropriate and high time we discussed it. Any other public comment? Jack, would you like to do your thing?
Thank you. Make a motion to adjourn at this time. Thank you, folks.
Second.
Thank you.
All in
Thank you,
favor?
everyone, for watching.
Aye.
Aye.
And please come on Saturday at 10
Yeah.
o'clock,
Please.
10 to 1, because it's going to be a fun time. So we're going to do the music?